this circle is good, and I'm good in this circle. And I ask each one, what are you? And they respond, I am good. So Scott, what are you?
Aha, I'm good.
What are you?
Aha, I am good.
What are you?
I am good.
You.
I'm good.
Good.
Good. All good.
I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm great.
And are you good?
I'm good. I'm good. I am good.
Stephen?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
I am good. I am good.
I am good.
I'm good.
I am good. I am good. Good.
I am good. You say I am good? Beautiful. I am good. I don't think we say it enough. How many here believe it? Yeah, it's tough. Not everybody believes it. When I first started working with the kids, they didn't believe it. They said, I have a hard time with this word good. I don't get it. You know, and I kept saying, it's good with a capital G. There is no opposite. There is no opposite to this good. It's what you are. It's not how you feel. It's not how you have behaved or how you intend to behave. It's not even how you intend to feel, because some of us don't intend to feel good later. We have a grudge, and so later on I'm not going to feel good. You know, but I'm going to be right. And that'll be good enough. And that's okay. The love of God is, and that's why we're good. This week in our principle series, and we're on principle, what is it, principle 6, I think? 5? Fine. It is the principle of believing and knowing. Of believing. Last week was pure potentiality. And this week is the principle of believing and knowing. And I want to read this to you. It was written by Renford, the man who wrote this book that we're basing this series on. And he says, look at the dictionary definitions of faith and belief. Webster's dictionary defines belief as something believed, opinion, conviction, confidence in the truth, or existence of something not immediately susceptible to rigorous proof. It defines believe as to have confidence in the truth, existence, reliability, or value of something. Faith is described as confidence or trust in a person or thing, belief that is not based on proof. These are almost identical definitions. I will give you my understanding of these words in their relationship to intellectual knowledge and intuitive knowledge, so there will be no doubt as to what I mean. The difference in belief and faith is primarily a matter of intensity. For example, belief is the acceptance of an idea, a person, or system. Faith is confidence in the belief or a more intense belief. The type of knowledge involved in belief or faith is experiential or intuitive. Otherwise, the belief is blind. Belief is intellectually generated. Intuitive knowledge is a way of beholding Spirit's potential and seen as faith. Hebrews 11:1 says, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. What is not mentioned in this passage is the part played by intuitive knowledge. It is the surety engendered by intuitive knowledge that completes and gives faith its power. Emily Cady, Unity's premier writer, she wrote Lessons in Truth, which is Unity's foundation textbook, if you don't know. Intuition and intellect are meant to travel together. Intuition always holding the reins to guide intellect. That's from page 93 of Lessons in Truth. Faith and knowledge cannot be separated. Neither can they exist in a vacuum. We can have all the faith in the world, but if it is in what someone else has experienced, it has little value for us. We can have all the knowledge in the world, but if we do not have the faith to act, it has little value. Lessons in Truth, page 64, says, what is understanding faith? There are some things that God has so indissolubly joined together that it is impossible for even Him to put them asunder. They are bound together by fixed, immutable laws. If we have one of them, we must have the other. And so, believing and knowing. We come here because we do believe. We come here to be reminded. We pray because we believe that it is possible that a change will occur if I pray. We speak the word God because we believe a change will occur in our minds and thus in our lives if we speak this word. We believe it. We have an innate faith. Otherwise, we wouldn't continue to do it. At my lowest point in my life, I still, every night said, thank you, God, for today. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. And I did it because I believed I would go to sleep if I did that. And I also believed that there was something going on. It kept the spark alive in my being. Just that little prayer. I wasn't praying much more than that at that point in my life. And then one day it shifted and I said, okay, God, I need help here because I can't keep doing it alone. And then everything just exploded in a big way. And life has never been the same again. And I got, you know what? I went lower. Within a couple of years, I actually went lower. I went so low that the only place to go was up. You know, it was that or die, and I don't know that death would have been lower. I don't think I could have lived more miserably than I was living, though. But it took all that downwards. I went up for a bit and then went way, way down in order to come up again. But I believed, and I knew. See, I knew from my own experience what a difference true prayer makes. What a difference prayer with willingness. Prayer mixed with willingness is a great combination. In your programs today, there is a prayer. You guys put it in there, didn't you?
Yeah.
This prayer comes from, you all have it? Can we have some, please? Everybody doesn't have one. We've covered this prayer before, and it's my very favorite. It comes from, you need one, Jerry? Do we have another for Jerry? Anybody else need one? Great. B needs one. This is B. B needs one. Okay, I'm done with that one. Okay. This comes from the third step of Alcoholics Anonymous. I believe it's page 63 or 64 of the AA Big Book. And it's not an alcoholic's prayer. It is a universal prayer of surrender to the invisible presence that is. I took to the main prayer of AA is usually the Serenity Prayer, but I took to this prayer. It was this prayer that made all the difference in my life, that transformed. Now the third step is to turn our will and our life, make a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God, as we understand God. Now, in Unity, so many people have done the 4 T's and stuff, which is all 12-step based. And so we're not. This is not limited to an addict. Although most of us are addictive thinkers. At the very least, we're addicted to thinking. So imagine surrendering your thoughts to the care of God. You'd really have to some of us would really have to get a new understanding of God to surrender to the care of God. But it says, God, I offer myself to Thee. You see in that prayer there, to build with me and to do with me as Thou wilt. Well, what I learned was that God's will for me is to be happy, joyous, and free. That was an aha for me. Before I ever came into Unity, I heard that. That was a big aha. God's will for me is to be happy, joyous, and free. Wow, I like that. I can get on board with that, God. To be happy, joyous, and free. That is God's will. It wasn't until I got here to Unity that I understood that my will and God's will are the same and have always been the same. I've just been confused within my will about, I've been trying to make myself happy, joyous, and free rather than surrendering to the divine potentiality, the pure potentiality of being happy, joyous, and free with what is. I have been trying to take what is and make it what it isn't in order to be happy, joyous, and free. But my will was still the same as God's. It's the demonstration of it that is the issue. So God, I offer myself to thee to build with me, to do with me as thou wilt, to be happy, joyous, and free. Next line, relieve me of the bondage of self. Now, I had a hard time with that because I didn't understand what it meant. But the reason I was willing to, I got on my knees and I said this prayer several times a day. And what I got from it was, I figured God knows what it means. And at that point, I thought, who am I praying to? Well, I'm no longer praying to God. I am praying from a consciousness of God. So I'm surrendering myself to good direction, to a divine energy, a divine presence. So relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Okay, that I may better be happy, joyous, and free. So we're clear on that. Thy will. Keep thy will in mind. Happy, joyous, and free. Thy will is my will. It can't be separate. And so, happy, joyous, and free. So the bondage of self, it turned out, the bondage of self was my thinking that anyone had a grudge actually against me. That anyone wanted to hurt me, or that I actually wanted to hurt another. It's not possible. Now, we've talked about this in classes before. People have certainly done some damage here, perhaps to me, perhaps to you, perhaps to others, but they didn't do it to you, even though it affected you. When people are hurting others, it's because they have turned them into objects, and so they have no idea they're actually hurting another human being. And so the bondage of self is that I am an object. That's a bondage, that I am objectifying another spiritual being or myself. That is the bondage of self. The bondage of self is my belief in lack and limitation. The bondage of self is my belief in sin and sickness. The bondage of self. So relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Well, if I'm surrendering to good orderly direction, I'm going to be relieved of that bondage. My belief that there is an evil in the world, that there's something missing within this love. So we go from relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties. Now, I got that one. That meant my rent would be paid. Take away my difficulties meant life is going to be easy. That's what it had to be, because my difficulties were what was making my life hard. But I remember, I'm surrendering to the care of God. So I had to surrender what I thought were my difficulties and look a little deeper. Look a little deeper and allow my difficulties to be revealed to me. But nonetheless, they were going to be lifted. Any belief in conflict, in any of that needed to be resolved by my thinking. Let it go. So take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help. See, I'd already been told my life was to be a life of service. It didn't say a life of drudgery. It said a life of service. To those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. May I always be happy, joyous, and free. What I got from that was my living a great life, whatever I felt a great life was, because we all have a different interpretation of what a great life is. Some of us think it's money. Some of us think it's serving food. Some of us think it's doing the job we love, and we all have a different interpretation. But what it really means is a life unfettered with doubt. We do not need to be burdened by doubt. We do not need to be burdened by belief in the absence of good. So, take away my difficulties. The victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. May I always be happy, joyous, and free. I believed that prayer, and I knew it was true the first time I read it. And I memorized it really fast because I wanted to say it at a moment's notice. I wanted, every time my mind became burdened with doubt and resentment and stuff, I wanted to be able to turn and say, God, I offer myself to thee to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties. The victory over them may bear witness to those I would help. Of thy power, thy love, thy way of life. Yes, may I do thy will always. You know, to keep surrendering, to surrender all day long. Because I had a mind that was so burdened by, ugh. It was just, so cloudy with, ugh. And I don't know how to spell that, but you know what it is. And it's that stuff, it's all those thoughts. It's, it's my parents and their parents and their parents. And it's the newspapers, and it's filth in the streets, and it's just everything. My mind was burdened because everything I look at, I think about. I was burdened by my thoughts. So I needed to turn my will and my life, meaning my thoughts, over to the care of God. Over to the care of joy, the care of love, the care of wisdom, the care of truth. I needed to keep turning it over to an invisible presence that was pure love and loved me and could not love me, because I believed at that point, even if it was difficult to break the habit, because that's what it came down to and still is. It's old habits. It's old habits that come back and say, oh, but this one did this to you and this one did this to you. But it's not possible for them to do it to me. I'm the Son of God. And they're the Son of God. So it's not possible. They didn't do it, and it wasn't done to me. An object, one who objectified themselves, perceived this body as an obstacle to their will, to be happy, joyous, and free, and tried to shove me out of the way in one form or another, with a harsh word, with a harsh gesture, whatever it is, a harsh thought. My body got pushed, but the I am of me was untouched. Now, do I choose to remember that? Do I choose to remember the I am of you never pushed me, and the I am of me was never pushed? Do I believe that? Do I know it? Or do I want to stay in the old habit mind of thinking, they pushed me? Look what they did. Or the old habit mind of, oh, I pushed them, I'm so bad, I'm so terrible, look what I did, oh, I'm just an awful person. Those are lies, first of all. You don't believe it, you don't know it to be true. I know this, or you wouldn't come up these steps. You come here because you believe. I come here because I believe. And I know that truth is true. And I know that I know the difference. In my more traditional religion, when I was Church of Christ, I was about 12 when I decided to be baptized. Because in that denomination, you go forth when you believe you know right from wrong. And one Sunday night, I decided I knew right from wrong. They called us forth, and I walked up there, and I was immersed. And I got up, they gave me this suit, and they put me under the water and brought me back up. And it was quite touching. I've had certain rituals in my life where I was different afterward. Now, obviously, we're not doing that today. I'm not calling anyone forth. I'll hurl my water at you if you think that'll make a difference. But it is just a ritual. I said, call forth, not leave. And so, but in these rituals, when I was initiated into Reiki, both times, actually not the second time I was ordained, but the first time I was ordained, suddenly I knew things. I knew more about right from wrong. I knew the difference between truth and untruth. Doesn't mean I always act on it. It means I know the difference, and I believe in the difference. And I feel it when I don't adhere to the difference. When I don't listen to the truth. When I'm trying to get another being to bend to my will, when I'm trying to get another human being, or I'm trying to get myself to bend to another being's will so they will like me, when I'm trying to get the physical universe manipulated so I will be safe, when I'm already safe. Thought of it the other day in the car, and I thought, so many of us perceive ourselves as unsafe. We think we're not safe because things aren't the way I need them to be. And so I've got to try, or I'm just going to hold away more, and I'm going to hide more. See, it's not safe for me here. You're not safe for me. Oh, this isn't safe. I'm safe because I'm the Son of God. I'm safe because I'm a beloved child of God called beautiful. And if I drop dead today, that is my good. That is my good. It's hard sometimes to think that in the moment. But if I'm willing to take that one thought of God, God, I offer myself to Thee, to build with me and to do with me as Thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better be happy, joyous, and free. Take away my difficulties, and it's not a person taking it away. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of Thy power, Thy love, and Thy way of life. Wouldn't you like your conviction, your faith, your divine faith, to bear witness to the world that we are safe, that we are loved, that we are filled with wisdom and truth? Wouldn't you like to be the one who is bearing witness to that? It's not about me being the one. It's not about them being the one, not him or her being the one. It's you being the one. The I am of you being the one. You choosing today to be the one who bears witness, to prove the love of God in action. Because that's the only way you're ever going to believe it. You can see it in me, perhaps, or the one sitting next to you, perhaps, in your mother, your father, your grandmother. But until you do it yourself, you're never going to truly be convinced. And so, believe today that you can fly. Believe today that you can see everything as it is. Take the clouds away and say, yes, I surrender to the care